Welcome to the 57th episode of Sawdust Nation Podcast with your host, Nick from NPG Creations. That's me. Josh from North Country Woodworking. And with us again, joining us from sunny San Antonio, Nap from Nap's Knotty Works. How you doing, fellas?
What's up?
What up? Doing pretty good.
That's good. Glad to hear it. Before we get started, let's go ahead and hear a quick blurb from our sponsors. What do you say there, Nick? Well, thank you. I've been waiting to do this bit for a while now. So, all right. First off, we want to thank our patrons. That's right, our patrons, because this episode has been funded, financed, and signed, sealed, delivered by the patrons. So thanks, everybody, for donating to the podcast. You keep it real. We keep our swag train going for our giveaways, and it just allows us to do what we love to do. And next up, TB, the Totalboat. That's right, baby. Totalboat, they make some amazing epoxies and wonderful varnishes. Give them a look-see on Instagram at Totalboat or their website, www.totalboat.com. And for a 10% off promo code, shoot a DM to myself or Josh, and we will hook you up. And last but not least, Jtechphotonics, thank you for supporting us for so long. You guys keep the laser game in. You guys keep the laser game in. With that being said, Josh went to go grab a, what is that, a Coors Light?
No, Blue Moon.
Oh, the Blue Moon. He's already
fancy.
drinking. You can't drink all day, Josh, if you don't start in the morning. Just saying. But we're gonna go around the room here and see what's going on in people's shops. I think since Nap is our guest again, we should ask him. What do you say there, Josh? You think we should ask Nap?
Yeah, it's the only play thing to do. So, Nick, how's your shop?
Oh, I'm glad you asked.
No, Nap, man, what's going on, dude?
Well, you kind of know what's been going on in the shop. I've been messaging with you back and forth. But just for our listeners, got a lot going on. I can't say there isn't one project I haven't been tackling for the past few weeks now since the last time I was on with you guys. But instead of talking about the big project, that'll be last. I've been working on this coin rack for Squadron, a little outside of my comfort zone because it's the structure of the coin rack. You remember seeing it. It's the walnut maple one with the epoxy stuff that's going to happen in the background. I haven't done one of those. I've done flag coin racks, but this particular one's just a little different for me, a little bit of a different process. I've got something's called a hat stand. MTI's out here in San Antonio. They have this stand they put their hats on, and they asked me, hey, can you make this? I said, sure. So it's actually out.
What's an MTI?
A military training instructor for my listeners out there that don't know what that is. That's someone that yells at your teenagers that you send and gets them formed and ready and rock and roll in the military. But yes, so they wear these awesome campaign hats. That's how you distinguish them from the rest of us. And when they're not wearing it, they needed a place to set it. So they go ahead and set it on that hat stand. So I went ahead and made one of those. It's actually out in the garage right now, drying with a nice clear coat of Halcyon. It's been my go-to as of late. And then also, I just recently finished a decanter box. So I've made 2 of these now. It seems to be a hot item for me. So I'm going to probably start making these just to have on the shelf, ready to laser etch with custom engraved glass and stuff because I got the 100-watt laser out there doing work actually as we speak, which leads me into that last project. Me and Nick from NPG Creations, as you know, have been working on finally got to this project. Y'all were talking about what grinded your gears a couple episodes ago about, people not getting back to you. Well, finally it got back to us. We got paid and we got started. We're both almost done cutting all 30 plaques. I know we came a little short up on material, and that was an error on my part. Board footage, hard thing to calculate apparently. But we're going ahead and we're scrapping some things together, finishing up these plaques. We're etching. Like I said, etching one as I speak. And that's about all I got going on in the shop. What about you, Nick?
Before we get into Nick's shop, because we all know he has a whole lot of stuff, did you have any lessons learned in your shop today or this week?
Is that a theme for today or something?
Boy, did I.
People might be interested to learn because, we all make mistakes and that's how we learn, right?
Yeah. So let's see. I had a couple screw-ups. I'm trying to remember exactly. Oh, yeah, that's the one. So on the decanter box. So what had happened was I was like, oh, this would make more sense if I put this logo long ways. So I ended up etching it long ways, and I get ready to start laying the decanter and the glasses out so I can get my foam cut and everything. I looked at it, and I go, this isn't right. I tried playing it off like, oh yeah, I'll just make a separate spot because the lid or the topper wasn't going to fit the long ways. It had to go rotate it and then it would fit. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll just make a hole to put it as its own separate spot. But then talking to Nick and then convincing myself to take the chance to throw the top on the drum sander, take off the etching completely, and just redo it all together. And honestly, I'm glad I did because the pictures you saw, Josh, were just outlines. I ended up redoing it, and it actually looks a heck of a lot better, I think, this time than it did last time. And honestly, thank you, Nick, for putting the idea in my head because I wasn't going to do it. I was just going to let it fly as some character, if you will. But
a feature, huh?
Change it. Yeah, a little feature. But it was a little more than just a feature. It was you completely screwed up, Nap. That's what that was. And then another lesson learned, which I didn't show you, Josh, was on that coin rack. So military coins, as you know, some of them are a lot thicker than others, and some are like fairly thin. Of course, that's what she said. Not to you though.
I don't think he's ever had that issue.
It's all about the girth and the coins. That's what.
Moving on.
Okay. Yeah. I have nothing to say about that. But yeah, so I went to hit. So I know you normally do like a miter on the edges, or you can do finger joints. You can do a multitude of things. Well, I was going to drop plunge the bottom portion here because I just used butt joints. I didn't do anything super fancy because they didn't ask for anything super fancy. And I'm not going to lie, time is of the essence. So you know how if you want something super fancy, you need time to do that. I don't have the time to do that. So I went and drop plunged the bottom portion of the frame to make a separate coin slot on the bottom because I find it to be a little ridiculous if I have a space between this rack and this rack or in the frame and there's nowhere to put coins. Mm-hmm. So I did that and it went a little thicker than I wanted it to. I just sanded it and it fits thicker coins. That's what we're going with.
Nice. Actually, for all my coin racks, I have basically one of the first ones I did that fits coins perfectly. I always measure with that and I don't have to guess and I use the same one over and over.
Show off.
Just to reference off. No, man, it's one of those things where, if it works the first time, it's going to continue going that way. That coin rack looks really good, man. It's going to look really great.
Have you ever made a coin rack that was way too small?
Yep.
Or made it to where the coins don't stay in it right?
Too small. Space between the racks was a little too small because it was I think Army? Yeah, I believe it was Army. It was Army officer. Army, for some reason, man, when they make their coins, it's not like the normal like inch and a half, maybe 2 inches. It's like
they got like 3-4 inches, man.
4 inches, and he's like, I'm gonna need some of these removed. So, yeah, it happens.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
But with that, dude, what's going on in your shop?
So the foot locker for the Army Signal Corps Sergeant First Class is retiring. We'll be exiting my shop on Sunday. I'm just having a hard time getting motivated to flock it. I started flocking. I got a lot of flocking done, but I have to finish flocking it. And it's just so big that, I mean, it really does. I've used about half a bag of flock on this thing, and that's a lot of flock. So, like, because normally you're doing like...
Especially for your second time, right?
What's the first time? It's encompassing in my first time. Because it's the first project I flocked. It turned out pretty nice. I got the piano hinges for it. All I have to do, I built the tray. The tray's done. The bottom of the tray is actually flocked. It looks really nice. So if you pull it out, it sits on something, it won't scratch it. I have to build like a flag holder to put in there. And I'm actually using hardware to screw it in. So they can unscrew it and change out the flag. Because they didn't order a flag for me. They have a flag, a 3x5 flag that they're putting in it. So I have to make it so that it's not permanent, Which whatever. So another one of my projects I've got going on is, it's a waiting game right now. I'm waiting on an individual to make a payment on an order that they made for another one of those Air Force Master Sergeant Shadow boxes. It's actually a Senior Master Sergeant Shadow box with a First Sergeant Diamond in it this time. So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, how are you going to put the diamond in there?
Oh, I get creative with that. You know how I put the star on, don't you?
From the one I saw, did it have a star there? Because maybe I'm not remembering right. But
yes, they all have a star because it's a chevron for the Air Force.
No, I get that. Let me take a quick gander at your page here. If there's no damn star. Oh, there it is. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that, but it's going to take up a little bit more space.
It'll be okay. It'll be okay. It's going to be taller because there's going to fit more stuff in there. And then after that.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that's where you're making up the space.
I'm still got this desk sign that I have to start on. I've just been really busy working with Nap from Nap's Knotty Works on this whole promotion plaque business, which we finally, thank goodness, we got the monies. So, but other than that, man, that's all I got going on in the shop. Oh yeah, and my wife's up my rear end about a kitchen table still. Pfft, what's new?
So is that gonna be made out of walnut still, or are you thinking something?
Yeah, I have enough walnut to make it. I have enough walnut. I got a whole bunch of 8-quarter walnut, but I'm saving that for the table.
That's a thick table.
Well, you plane it down to about 1.5 inches. You'd be 1.5 inches, 1.75. Not too bad.
Honestly, if I was gonna make a table and I was going to, I'd make it pretty thick and I'd make it pretty heavy. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be expensive, but I mean, like that's a table that's gonna last you a lifetime. Your children are gonna be able.
And that's what I want, man. That's what I want. I want to be able to not have to worry about a kitchen table pretty much ever again. But my wife wants a 6-foot table, and that's more like a kitchenette table, Like an 8-foot dining room table would be one for like 8 people.
Yeah.
Would it be 8 or 6?
For 8 people, you said?
You could probably get 4 on each side, right?
Yeah.
Well, not laterally.
It's not gonna be comfortable.
Well, they're my kids. Who cares if they're comfortable?
Why don't you just make the a little extension? That way you pull it apart, you throw the piece in there, and you can extend it and make it smaller.
Put an extender in there. Yep.
Yeah.
Good idea. That requires a lot more work, though.
They have kits for those, and there's different ways to do it. Some of them are really nice where it's automatic. You pull it apart, comes up, push it together, pull it apart, goes down. I mean, like there's different ways you can go about doing it. But because I'm running into something similar, not to steal the show from you, but I want to build a kitchen table myself eventually. And looking at all the designs and all the ways you can do it, I don't want to have a huge table because it takes away from the space, especially like this kind of space. And the best way I can go about doing that is build a smaller table with like the little piece in there to extend it. That way, when there are people over, I can make it bigger. Or if I have, parents over, what have you, and when there's no one around, you can make it smaller and it fits in the space you have. Yeah, you have a bigger family, but what it comes down to is, do you really want to have a table?
It wouldn't matter to me. I have a designated dining room now, so
now you do.
Now
what
I do.
happens in the next house?
The next house is probably going to have a designated dining room too, because my next house I'm buying, and I'm not going to buy something unless I actually want it,
True that. I mean, that's a good point, but yeah, I don't know. There's 100 different ways to crack that acorn.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, what about you, Josh? What do you got going on?
Not much. I'm still working on the wine rack. I got work hold on that because I was a little short-sighted. So I'm using the dado stack that I bought off Nick, and I went to go throw it in there because I'm about to do some dados, and I don't have a throat plate that is wide enough or ready for it.
Is your arbor long enough?
Yeah, absolutely. So I threw it in there, and I'm looking. I'm like, well, this ain't gonna work. Go on old Amazon, order it. They're like, yeah, 2 days. Sunday, it's going to be there. So Sunday, I'm like a little kid waiting for the mailman. His name is Ed. Ed shows up, and I'm like, hey, man, you got my package? He goes, no, I got one for your wife, though.
Dang.
Oh, sick burn.
So I'm like, okay, maybe Monday. So it hasn't come in yet, and I looked, and it says Wednesday. So basically, I don't feel comfortable running any kind of plywood over that without as is, you're seeing like a 3/4 inch blade in there. It's just kind of off-putting.
Why don't you make one?
I could have. It's a weird shape with the rigid. The rigid is, I mean, I got a 3D printed one. There's a bunch of different ways. Truth be told, I thought for sure I was going to have it in a day or two, because usually you order it and it's either a day at a time or on schedule. I didn't think it'd be waiting this long. So yeah, so I've been waiting on that. And then other than that, I did a Tech Sergeant select a little plaque for my neighbor. He made tech, and I wanted to do something nice for him. Good guy. Did that up. Was my first one. It came out pretty good.
Look good.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty good.
I thought cherry would be perfect for it. So in a little black background. I definitely, though, if I had one of your lasers, I probably would have lasered it. instead of engraving it on the CNC. And I was actually going to do it in the Gloforge, but I didn't want it to take 3 days. I mean, okay, I'm exaggerating, but I mean, like, it does take a little bit longer. It's a 45, was it 40, not watt, 45, can't think of the measurement for CO2 lasers. Is it watt? No.
Yeah, it's watts.
Yeah, it's watts. I've been talking diode lasers a lot. So I don't know what kind of phones you guys have. I have an Android, but Clubhouse is...
I have a CO2 phone.
Yeah, you probably do. Tesla phone. But Clubhouse now has the app available for Android, and I was invited by one of our listeners. And I got on there, started talking to people, and we got into a huge laser discussion. And, different mediums, people are lasering and stuff like that. And basically what everyone has and, techniques, and they had some questions that I try to answer intelligently. But so it's a cool new meetup place to talk, shop and other stuff. But yeah, there's not much going on in the shop right now. I have an upcoming project, the ammo box is going to hold it was supposed to be a bottle of Jack, then it was Crown, and I think we settled on a bottle of wine. Yeah, it's gone back and forth. I'll be doing ammo crate, the wine bottle will be in there, depending. They were going to do shot glasses for the liquor. I'm not sure if they're going to do a wine glass or something in there. So kind of working out some details. But if you recall, a while back, I did a military working dog coin that was blown up, and in the mouth was a picture. And they're going to have that in the inside lid with all the handlers' names and the dog's names on each side. So that's going to be a lasered project. There's no way I'm going to CNC that.
No.
But yeah, just too much detail and too little space. But I'm thinking I'm going to make it out of cherry. I have some cherry in stock, and it's going to look the part. Yeah, it's going to be a little different. I haven't made one of these yet, so it's probably going to use foam, probably the shape for the bottle. And then
so on that with your foam, so I'm doing a lot of. I know, and I'm not stealing your show right now.
No. If you got anything, I would definitely like to hear it.
So well, thanks for coming on, Nap. We'll see you next time.
All right. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
I'm playing. No, you're
but so my second decanter box. Okay. So the first one I went with. I messed up. I've learned some things, and honestly, it's probably good to pass on, I guess. So I went too thick with the foam originally because I laser cut my foam out because it's the most accurate. The problem was I did 2-inch thick foam. Now, mind you, my laser went through 1 3/4 of that foam, no problem. So I was like, okay, maybe I could just cut it off and do what I need to do. So the first time I was like, okay, this turned out okay. It worked out. Everything fit fine. Everything was safe. Cool. Customer loved it. Go to the second one. I'm like, okay, let's try some really heavy duty seat cushion foam. So I did that this time. Laser went through it perfectly, just fine. Here's the problem. It started to fuse itself back together after it melted. So when I was trying to push it through, it tore it a little bit. So I was like, well, so SOB, come on.
It cauterized itself?
Yes, it cauterized itself. So round 3, because the customer that ordered this box wants the exact same box with something else on it. They love the box. They want it. I was like, okay, I'll make another one. Thank you for being my test subject, essentially. Yeah. And I don't mean to call customers test subjects, but I tell you what, when you repeat something over and over and over, it's like, okay, what's going to be the best for this? So now I'm going to use Kaizen Foam. It's going to be a little more expensive, obviously, because that foam is it's stupid expensive. I'm going to do 1-inch sections this time. And I'm going to laser the 1-inch section for 2 layers. And I'm going to put a 1/2-inch section under it so it pads the bottom.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I'll stack and glue it. And that should be the ticket, and then cover it in satin, because that's what I don't like to leave just bare. I cover it in some kind of fabric.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I was going to ask you what you were covering. Satin was the first thing I was thinking of as well. I don't know how flock would do on that itself, but yeah.
So all that satin looks wonderful.
But
yeah, I'm waiting for the butt. It seemed like there's a butt.
It is a pain to work with, though. If there's
I imagine.
How do you get it to marry to the edges of the box?
All right, so I overcut the satin. I overcut it, make it as big a square as I can. That makes it comfortable. So when I stuff the sides, it'll be fine. So what I'll do is I'll do that. I'll push my pieces in to make sure that I have enough fabric to line the areas. Mm-hmm. And then what I'll do is after I glued the bottom piece down, that's my padding, I'll put the shape on top, and then I will tuck the sides with a putty knife around all the way around. Yeah, tuck. Yeah, tuck it. All right. And then after I figure out that it works okay, and this sounds very counterproductive and maybe not as efficient as it could be. But then I pull it out, I redo the process, but before I tuck the satin, I put a big bead of glue around the outside of it, and then I stuff the fabric back in there. And that's honestly, it sticks the best. And then if you have any issues of it coming off a little bit, hot glue gun, glue down, press and hold for like 30 seconds, and it's good to go.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely like how the satin goes in there, because if you did any kind of like flocking or anything like that, you're not going to get the little ridges that you see in the satin that kind of go around it. Thanks for the heads up. I've been thinking about ways to tackle it, and it doesn't seem difficult, but it's one of those things where I'm going to get into it and it's going to be like, should have thought about this a little bit more.
Yes. So. And that was my learning experience was, this will be easy. Nope.
Yeah. It seems like that's the way it works,
I know you had another learning experience too this week with your friend coming over with Vetric teaching you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Josh, finish up and then I'll dive into that here with what I learned.
I don't got much more to go. I have to answer people back on Messenger and then figure out what other projects are coming up. But yeah, that's all I got really going on in the shop. I did do a one of those Amazon half asleep orders, and I ended up. So long story short, getting into this real quick, I broke a blade on my bandsaw not too long ago. It's my resaw blade. It's a 1/2 inch for TPI.
And that scared you, I bet. Little pucker
Well,
factor.
I've done it before. The first time I've ever done it, yeah, it scared me. I literally shut out the machine, sat down, and was like staring at it for a while. The second time was like, oh, I remember this. The third time was like, okay, wait a minute. But yeah, I go a little hard on my blades apparently. Or it's the Timberwolf blades I get. Not sure. But they're cheap and they work really good until they break. So
how do you put them on?
Anywho,
did you watch Mr. Snodgrass's video?
So I've actually seen it in person. He did expo down here. I don't know. It has been a couple of years.
I know. I was there at the one at Secaucus.
Yeah. It's funny. You were there. I was there both days. AJ was there. Pete was there. Like we were all there. I met Pete there for the first time. I met AJ in person there for the first time. I don't know if I knew who you were at that point. Anywho, yeah, I saw it there. And then I've watched his videos since, and I do follow his method for the most part. I have to be careful of different size blades for some reason on my bandsaw. I'll have to operate just a little differently. But going back to the story, I ordered one blade, and then the next day I was ordering something else. It was like tent stakes. It was something really random. And I ended up ordering another blade, same everything, 1/2 inch for TPI. So I was really confused when I got the second one in with my tent stakes. I was like, why do you need two? I'm like, I don't. So I have an extra one now. But I ordered it like it was like 1 o'clock in the morning and I wasn't thinking straight. So, but that's my shop. It's really nothing going on right there. I'm kind of waiting for that throw plate to come in. And once that wine cabinet's all complete, I'm going to start on other projects, but that's priority right now. So
I just wanted to mention that I broke both my bandsaw blades this week.
Jeez,
I know.
We're running through there.
How?
So the little one, which is it's still a 14-inch Powermatic, the blade just broke at I was just cutting like 3/4 inch plywood, or not plywood, 3/4 inch wood, because I wasn't even cutting that thick. I was cutting the tabs off of a carve.
The cherry carves.
Yeah, and it must have caught or something like that or whatever, and snapped at the weld. And then I was resawing, and it on the big one, and it snapped at the weld.
I've never had a blade snap anywhere but the weld.
That's $100 bill right there, man.
Yep.
Good thing it's kind of paid for, huh?
Yeah. Well, too bad. So sad. I wish I could save the money. But anyway, Nap, go ahead and tell us about what oh boy came over your house.
So I'll tell you what, folks. This is one of those things where it's like, do you invite this person over, or is it just another person on Facebook that it might be a little suspect? Okay, at first it felt a little suspect, but what tipped me off was I'm on the Vetric Facebook site and the 2D and 3D stuff, and we get on the forums and we ask questions, all that stuff. And he posted a picture of a place I frequent to get my lumber quite often, Dakota Hardwoods. And I was like, hey, I literally, like, he just went there that day. I also went there, and I was maybe within an hour and a half of this guy visiting there and then myself visiting. So I messaged him. He's like, cool, yeah. And then he messaged me like privately, like, hey, what software do you use? This, that, and the other. I told him he's Vetric VCarve Pro. He's like, did you download 11 yet? Because they just, dropped their new software. And I was like, no, I hadn't done it yet. But, and this was at the time I hadn't, but now I have. And he's like, yeah, I'd like to come over, see your shop. I could teach you some stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, it's kind of like different. I've never had someone like just offer to come over. But then again, makers get together and it's like you start to share information. So I was like, you know what? Okay, I'll give this a chance. Let's see what this is. So shot him my number. He shot me his. He actually called me that same night. And I had it was a good conversation. We just had a random conversation, kind of probably just to feel each other out, make sure we're not, weird people. Because let's just be real. You meet someone on Facebook, you're taking a chance, all right? And so he ends up coming over on a Sunday. And he's like, hey, I just got done with church. You mind if I stop over, see what your shop is, see what your operation looks like? I was like, yeah, sure. So Ben from Beach Time Woodworks, and that is also his handle on Instagram if anybody wants to take a look at him. He does phenomenal 3D work, by the way. So that's his thing. So he has a Spire, and he does quite a bit of 3D work, and I've seen it. I've looked at it. He showed me a bunch of pictures, but he also brought some training with him. I cannot say where he got the training from because I'd probably get him in some trouble. But he was able to afford me the time and show me a bunch of stuff about my software that I didn't even know. And I've got even like a lot more, like monuments more of training that he gave me. And I was wow. Yeah. So I'm going to be able to learn my software in and out. So before I upgrade eventually to Aspire, which for those of you that know anything about Vetric, it's pricey, but I'm going to tell you what, it's worth it. It's good software. I'll eventually upgrade to Aspire after I get comfortable with what I'm using now. Because I'll be real, I know enough just to be dangerous, but not enough to be like super proficient in it. And then on top of that, he showed me some 3D carving stuff. He showed me like how to stack things a certain way in VCarve Pro, because in Inspire you can do multiple models, but now there's this guy, seems like Michael Mazurk. I can't say his name. His last name, I'd have to spell it out. I'll send it to you guys. We can talk about it another time. But he is training like for Vetric for Dummies pretty much, and I watched some of his videos, and it's pretty good. But yeah, so he came over. He stayed over for a good like 6-7 hours. He helped me actually work on some of my projects. I showed him how to do hand woodwork because he's a CNC guy. He doesn't do builds. So I was like, well, here, I'll show you what I know. Some of the stuff I know anyways. And yeah, so we just traded knowledge, traded information. He left at about 8 o'clock at night. And no, he did not overstay his welcome. I enjoyed having him here the entire time. He was an older gentleman. Yeah,
Sure, he's going to appreciate you saying that.
I mean, listen, I don't mind having younger folks over, but, and this is no shot at any younger folks that know a lot about something, but anytime you have an older fella come over that wants to pass on knowledge like that, it's like you really can't pass it up. Because normally they're going to know a thing or two about a thing or two, especially when they take special trips to get special training on their CNC. Mm-hmm. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to take advantage of this, and he's taking advantage of, well, what I can show him. And I can't really show him that much. I've only been doing this a year and a half,
Well, you got to imagine too, and obviously he's on Instagram or whatnot too, but if he's been going at it for like 20 years, Instagram and YouTube and all that kind of stuff wasn't really there. We've learned a lot in a very short time due to the community that we're in, YouTube and all that. So, I mean, like, yeah, we might not have like the 20, 25 year experience some of these guys have, but we can condense a lot of that time based on, the stuff we can research and find easily. I did look up his profile, and he does some amazing 3D carves. And just to clarify, the mic you were talking about, was it from Veteran Woodco? Because he does YouTube videos for basically dummies about Spire and Vetric.
Like I said, I have to get the full name again, and then once I get it, I'll send it to you, and we can talk about it. But yeah, he literally. So the guy that he knows is actually, so no, it's actually not that guy. And I know this because he showed me a video of this guy. He does stained glass work, and that's a whole nother conversation. But we'll just say he sought out, this guy that we're talking about, he's sought out by like monument, like what is it, historical sites and things like that. Like he goes and restores cathedrals and stuff like that. Like that's the kind of person.
Definitely not him. Okay, 2 mics then. I'd be interested to see if we get that name because I don't use Vetric as my primary, so I use ESO Pro, but I'm learning Vetric on the side just so that eventually I can cross over and do some 3D carves because I have some ideas myself, but I've never done a 3D carve, and I really would like to learn. So,
Yeah, I'm actually going to try to get the name for you right now, just because it's going to bother me. Oh, okay. Michael Mazalik is his name.
Mazalik. Okay.
Last name spelled Mezalick. Got a lot of good stuff. I've already started watching some of his videos, and he really does break it down. And they're 20-minute segments, so if you have a short attention span like I do, those are perfect.
Nice. Yeah, especially when you start doing like instruction videos for like some of these programs, those 20-minute sections definitely help get you through it, because if any longer, it's sometimes hard to keep awake. But yeah, I definitely have to check that out. 3D carving is going to be something I like to definitely get into, because we were talking about coin racks earlier. You know, Air Force have different badges, and for me, it's flight engineer wings, and I would like to 3D carve flight engineer wings and then do racks on top of that, but 3D carve the top of the racks, almost like I did with that British flag. Okay. So when you look at it straight on, it's going to blend in with the background so that I can put it like almost eye level for most heights, and then put my coins on there, and they kind of look like they're floating.
Mm.
That flag coin rack you did, Josh. Sorry, Nick. That thing was pretty cool. I was wondering what you were carving when you said, "I'm taking a chance, but it'll be worth it." And I'm like, "What is he doing?" Mm-hmm. And I saw it, and I was like, "That's a good idea."
Yeah.
I was a little bit nervous. I was a little nervous on that. I was actually going to paint basically the lines to match on the bottom and the top, but I tried it on one, and to get the angles just right to basically have it, no matter where you looked, it would basically match up. I didn't have enough time. The due date was fast approaching. So the next one I do, I think I'm going to take a stab at it and try to do that as well. But it's one of those projects where you're like, yeah, I can do that, no problem. And then once you get it, you're like, oh, wait a minute. Because normal flag is normal racks. You know what I'm saying? You paint the entire color. Yeah, thanks to AJ from Crafted NJ, because I sent him the idea, and he's like, send it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, man. That was pretty innovative.
Yeah, it was something new, and I hope someone else learned something from this so they can use it too.
Yeah, we're all ripping ideas off here. Just saying.
Hey, man, that's what the community's about. I mean, like, as far as I'm concerned, it's very few things I'm not going to tell you if you ask me.
So what was it? One day, Josh asked me to sell him a file. And I was like, meh, I don't know.
Oh, it was a trade. I forget what the trade was for. You needed a file, and I had it, and I was going to say, hey.
Oh, it was for a PME badge.
Yeah, I got that same file.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, so, like, I'm in a PME spot right now. That's where I work, so I could probably, you know what I mean, figure it out. I was like, Josh, yours is really nice, though.
I had a graphic designer do mine. Basically, I didn't even think about looking at Etsy at the time for it. It's actually a good idea. Which I would have.
That's where I find all my badges.
How much did you pay?
Me? I think it was like $4.99.
I'm talking to Josh because he said he had a graphic designer do it.
It's not much. I use Vector Crowd. You can find him on Instagram, and you just email him, and he'll give you basically the price and what you need. But long story short, it's $20 usually for the stuff I get, and he gives me like 3 different files. He'll put in, if I need a particular name done in there, he'll throw the name in there for me, interchangeable, and just different stuff that I could probably do with Vetric if I spent the time and learned it more. But for $20, that gets me ahead of the game. Usually it's a quick turnaround. I think he says a couple days, but usually it's that day or the next day. So if I did it, it'd probably take me a day or two to figure it out, just to, get in there and learn. But really good stuff. Like everything I got from him, I can literally take to the machine and carve. Really no messing around with it.
So I've been messing around with different vector files for a long time now. But anytime someone hands me a JPEG or whatever of a picture that they want carved, whether it be like a unit logo or a badge or whatnot, if I can find a clear picture of it, I can upload that picture. Well, first off, transform it to an SVG format, then import it into Easel, mess around with it, build the master file, because you can do some things in Easel that you can't do in Lightburn, and vice versa.
And I've done that. I've done it with Easel. I've done it with Lightburn as well, as you said, and then Inkscape. and
Yeah,
I can go in
Inkscape.
there and I could do it. I have done it with quite a few of my files. Usually, I only use Vector Crowd when it's a file that I know I'm going to have issues with because I can't find a clear image on the internet. Usually, like I've given him some pretty like someone went into Paint and put like 3 logos together, and they're like, "Hey, can we laser engrave this on a mount?" And I'm like, I can't make that file because like you can see clearly they went in, erased around, and you can't find it anywhere else. It's custom made. So I sent it to him, and I'm like, I don't know how this is going to turn out, but give it a go. He sent it back. It was perfect. Like it looked better than the original, which I'm grateful for. And it was clear. So learn the skills, do it yourself, but there are times where you just need to reach out for help.
I agree with that, Josh. 100%. There's a guy I go to when I need I need images ASAP and I don't want to mess with it. Or like, hey, listen, can you please do this? I don't care what it costs. Like, just do it because I need it.
Johnny Chaps does a wonderful job.
So I am going to look at him because he might be. I'll talk to you offline about that. But the guy he's just from my Vetric forum. You know, it is what it is. Like I just have him do it because Inkscape. I tried that. I don't have the patience. Easel. I've never used it because I don't use. I have Vetric and all that. So it's
he's
a
like.
different.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I don't use easel. It's for peasants.
I do. Hey, thanks, dude.
I don't use easel.
Okay, so your kid is awesome when he brings you another one.
Wow. What's that say?
Want?
Yeah, right. What does he want?
Yeah, what's he want?
Actually, is the guy I'm talking about. His company is called Vector Crowd.
That's Johnny Chaps' company? Well, I buy Johnny Chaps like vector files off Etsy all the time for like $2.
It might be something similar, but it's Chap IN. It's probably the same thing. I think you're shortening the name, maybe not. I don't know.
No, the name of the name of the dude on Etsy that I bought it from is Johnny Chaps.
Yeah, so. Close name then for doing the same kind of work. But you referenced him at one point, or maybe it was AJ. That's why I went to him.
So we have a question tonight, don't we? Or we have 2, maybe?
Technically, we have 3 questions. 2 from one individual and then 1 from someone new. I haven't talked to this individual before. We'll get into his email question here shortly, but we do have a Patreon that did send us 2 voicemails, and we're going to go through that real quick. That is Kumo's Workshop, and here he is with his first question.
Good evening, guys. Noel from Kumo's Workshop. So, I got a last-minute question that, man, it keeps me up at night sometimes, and I just keep wondering.
Go ahead, Kumo, tell us.
Which came first, the egg or the chicken?
Well, I would like to take this from you guys real quick. You mind? So depending on what you believe in evolution, evolution is minute changes throughout history. And with that, the egg would have came first because the mutation would have happened and then it would have cracked open and then it would have became a chicken that you see now. So therefore, over, thousands of years, that would have been the egg, the chicken, the egg, and the chicken, and slowly became into the chicken you know today. If you don't believe in that, then make some eggs and have a good day.
What about you there, Nap? What do you think?
Sawdust.
Okay.
Hey, that was a good answer, though.
Pretty simple answer for you, all right? Eggs before chicken, because you're going to eat breakfast before you eat lunch. Let's go to the next question.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, that's not that bad. I'm surprised. Here's the second question.
Hi, guys. It's Noel again. So, after my dumb question from before, now, seriously, what would be like your perfect workbench? Like, could be like an assembly / outfit table, whatever. Like, what features would be like the most ideal for your shop?
That's a great question, Noel. So I got a question for you. What you thinking?
This is late night chat with we got
that's right.
Nap, Nick, and Josh. Please tell us your thoughts on this next upcoming
smooth jazz coming up on the Sawdust Nation.
It's rich mahogany. Okay.
So what kind of workbench do you want? What features do you want on it?
Well, I've
Got
really
another one, Josh.
I've never really put much thought to that, just because I don't know. I've been kind of like a build as I go type deal. Like, I never had a work surface, right? So I was like, okay, well, I need some kind of surface, because this collapsible bench I have on my wall is just not enough, period. So I made a random movable surface that has been serving me well. Eventually it'll be demoed, and I'll actually make what is it called? Is it called a torsion box or something like one of those awesome box. Yeah, so I might make one of those when I eventually get the time. It just seems like I never have time. But if I were to say any kind of bench, it'd probably be a bench that is efficient for, we'll just say, my niche, if you will. So, I do make some flags, but I make military training instructor campaign hat boxes, hat presses, and those things. I would want to make a bench that maybe has certain things incorporated to where I can be in stations, I guess, or just make it to where it makes the shop flow good. I can't say what specifically I'd have on it, just because I don't know how much you could really put on a workbench, but maybe around it, maybe have like a vise attached to it. I don't know, maybe attach a drill press to it, because honestly, I don't have a drill press.
What about drawers for materials?
Actually, Nick, now that you say that, it's probably one of the biggest upgrades I'd make to my Surface now that I have, is I don't have drawers. I think I do more moving around my shop and running around to get hardware, bits, screwdrivers, chisels, everything else, that I probably could use some drawers and some storage, I think, with my Surface.
Would it help you to have dog holes on top? So when you're putting boxes and stuff together, you kind of press them together, or
okay,
maybe
so
a match fit system.
I'm new to what is that term, dog holes? I don't know what that is.
For bench dogs, those clamps that you just slap in, they slide in. You hit them with a mallet, and they lock into place.
Yeah, you can use that. Basically, holes on the top of your surface. You can use wooden dowels. You can use basically clamps. You can use what Nick's referring to. But basically, it's. Have you seen my match fit system and how it's laid out on my outfeed table?
I haven't, but I'm going to look at it now.
You better like the photo. Share it with your friends. No, basically, it's a system that a lot of people use. It's usually even space in boxes. So it's 4 quarters, and it's on your work surface. So you can go ahead and put a stop. And basically, when you're sanding or something, it's not going to move on you. It's going to hold the edge just fine. People use it. The match fit system from Microjig, which is a different system. It's the dovetail system with the clamps that basically you can create different ways to glue things up or hold things. So you don't necessarily need a vise. You can use the clamps in that manner. If you're looking at the picture, I have incorporated both into my bench. I have the match fit system and the dog holes you see. So I have it set up so at a 90-degree surface, I have it on the side and the top. I can work on panels. I can work on basically anything in that area, and it's modular on the top where I can remove the match fit system when needed. I still have the dog holes. It's great for assembly, and it's also good for like glue ups as well. I've used it for some planing work and other stuff like that. Between the two, I can pretty much complete everything I need to. And one of the reasons I don't have a vise in the shop right now is because of that system. And, when I'm not needing it, I could take off the match fit system, put it aside, and I have that clean surface on top. And it's melamine, iron-on melamine that I ordered off Amazon. It's on some plywood, and I ironed it on, and it's just like you would get anywhere else. It was like, I forget the pricing of it, but it was definitely worth that setup. So if you're thinking about upgrading your surface, those are 3 different ways actually that you can upgrade your surface. Melamine top, if you don't already have that, which is iron on. You can put dog holes in there. So when you're putting together boxes or sanding stuff, you can kind of hold it in place. Or if you really want to invest, go into the match fit system and do something similar to there. But yeah, that would be my suggestion.
How about you, Josh?
All right, cool. I was just going to say, I'm going to have to look into that because, yeah, I need to upgrade.
There's 100 different ways to make an outfeed table or a work surface. And honestly, you got to come up with something that works for you. And that, I guess that leads into me. I kind of went over what I already have. What I would change about it is I wouldn't have my laser in there. I'd have a home for my laser somewhere else because that takes up a lot of room. That takes up 3/4 of the space right underneath the bench itself. And then I have just enough space to store stuff under that. More drawers and place for storing smaller tools would be awesome. And I would like to have it solid wood. Honestly, I wouldn't want it to be able to roll if I could get away with that. Obviously, in the shop, I have a small space, so I got to make that work. So it has 5-inch casters on it right now. I like the height. I like how it's set up, but definitely some more drawers, more storage space. Yeah, solid, so it didn't move when I was doing anything because those casters can only hold, still so much.
Mm-hmm.
But, and then a cooler for the side, a plug-in, maybe some speakers in the bench itself, have it powered. So if it was on wheels, I can go take it around the neighborhood, almost like the Biomatic scooter. But that's about it. Nick, you look like you're falling asleep and
no, man, I'm
going
just
to do a calendar here.
So I just built an outfeed table and I love it. And I have the black melamine. I used I forget what plans I used. I think I talked about it on one of the podcasts earlier, but I'm loving it. I don't have all the drawers in yet. Here, we got another question. Let me find it here.
Yeah, I really want you to read this, and I'm not sure if it's going to make to the final cut. But
okay. Let me get into our email box. Oh, okay. So this one's from Barry. He writes, "Hey boys, Barry here from Barry's Board Barn Emporium. Quick question for the podcast. Hope it's not too late. What kind of wood do you find steam bends the best? Also, what projects have you incorporated into your bends? Thanks so much. Keep up the solid work, Barry."
I don't bend wood, so I don't have anything on that.
I don't steam bend. I've seen it done. I think it's a really interesting process. I don't have the space to have that equipment in my garage because it takes time and pressure, and you got to wind it up. And at least from the contraptions I've seen, I'm sure you could do it a different way, but
it depends what volume of wood or how big you're trying to bend. So I looked it up real quick because I honestly don't know much about this. Honestly, looking and thinking about some of the videos I've watched, and I'm not talking from experience. I'm talking about just in passing things I've watched and whatnot. It depends on the length of wood you're trying to accomplish and thickness and everything like that. Because essentially you're going to need a box, right? You're going to need something to hold the steam in and put the wood in. The box only needs to be as big as the pieces that you're trying to make. And then a way to generate the steam in them. I'm sure there's a machine or some way in the heat. Insulation of some sort, and then on top of that, the box, and then a way to get the wood in and out, and a way to generate the steam. Now, I looked up what types of wood are best for the bending, and it says, as a general rule, hardwoods tend to yield the best results. Yeah, I imagine so. There are a lot of people that use air-dried ash and oak for the solid wood furniture products, but other of the woods will work that will include cherry, birch, maple. So, basically, from this quick Google search, any type of wood would work, especially if it's hardwood. Like I said, it really depends what you're trying to make. If you're making something small,
I'd love to try it.
Like if you're doing a chair and you kind of want to, bend some wood and twist it.
Like a rocking chair?
Like a rocking chair or, something for your cat. You just need to... I can't concentrate with her up here. But anyway, I can't really speak intelligently on much more than that because, I haven't done it myself.
I would love to have someone on the show who steam bends and they can explain the entire process and some of the nuances about it and some of the don'ts. Because we all know that, wood bends with steam and all that stuff, but how many planks you got to mess up before you get good at it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, how long do you leave in there for, which probably depends on thickness and all that nonsense.
And Nick, maybe someone from the Woodworkers Guild knows. You never know.
Yeah, we could always ask.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to learn more about it.
For sure.
Well, thanks, Barry. I appreciate you writing in.
Bro, that's Barry from Barry's Board Barn and Emporium. So check him out on the internet. If I don't know if he has a website or not.
You didn't include it.
I'm afraid to search it.
Do me a favor, search it.
All right, what is it?
Barry's Board Barn Emporium.
I'm vigorously typing.
Daddy, hey.
Oh, actually, yeah, it Guys, it's a real thing. Like legit images of Barry's board barn and emporium. Not even kidding. It's a real thing.
He has a Facebook too. Anyway,
that was a surprise. That was a strange twist of events.
Here they think they thought it was me the whole time that sent this email. Josh is like looking at me side-eyed.
Can you blame me? I mean,
Sorry,
like how many
Barry.
people do you run into that have that kind of last name? Very unique. Wonder what the heritage is.
He's
there.
Irish. What?
Okay, now we know it's you. You just happened to find the name. You just happened to find the name on Google, so if we Googled it, it was a real thing. Oh, okay, I see what you did there, Nick.
What? His last name is...
Does it say about in the about section? Like
I'm about to click on this thing.
So, Barry, I swear to God, if you're real, I do apologize. I'll write you a letter and send it to you personally.
Do it.
But we don't trust Nick.
No, we don't trust Nick at all. I'll look at it. Oh, contact us. Okay, maybe if I click that.
Okay, shoot him a text message.
What's your last name?
This might take a little more research, folks, but they might have an answer next podcast. I don't know. We'll see.
Well,
if they're even still there after Barry gets done with them.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway,
maybe we're pronouncing that wrong.
Well, with a name like that, stay away from me, sir.
You know what's funny is we wanted to talk about something else, but I don't think we even have time for it.
Yeah, we can wrap it up and start our apology letters to Barry.
Oh my goodness,
Nick! I swear to God, I will fly down there.
When was the email sent? It was sent this afternoon.
It was literally okay.
Wait,
okay, no, it was not.
7:55 p.m.
Which is
I wasn't even
weird.
online. Why?
I don't think it was set at 7:55. I want to verify this real quick. It was at 8:55.
Oh,
my
that's
time.
your time, yeah.
We were not going to record on time. This is a late recording. So usually we start at 8 o'clock. We postponed an hour. We started recording at 9 o'clock. And suddenly, just before Nick gets on, we get this weird email. So
I don't know what you're talking about.
I will put money on the fact that he made an account and sent this in. Especially with that look. Look at that look on his face.
No way.
The mustache gives it away.
The mustache. If anything, the mustache is truthful.
That flavor savor's disgusting.
Oh, man.
Yeah, there's like little pieces of something in there.
We won't go there.
Anyway.
Were you talking to Barry?
Sawdust Nation podcast has been brought to you by yourself, the patrons. We want to thank each and every one of you who've donated to this podcast and on our Patreon page. So if you want to be a donor, go ahead and check out Sawdust Nation podcast Patreon page. Our link is in our show notes. And next up, we want to thank Totalboat. Totalboat epoxies and varnishes are outstanding. We can't tout them enough. They are what you need in your shop these days. So if you would like a 10% off promo code, slide into our DMs at Sawdust Nation Podcast on the Instagram. And last but not least, we want to thank Jtechphotonics for being a very faithful sponsor of ours for the past 8 months. So Jtechphotonics, thank you so much. Pew, pew. Check them out if you're looking for a diode laser. Call Jay. Tell him Nick sent you. Josh, how you want to get a hold of us?
Well, before we do that, we have one more thank you. Thank you for Nap for joining us. We appreciate you coming on for. Well, I mean, it's kind of we have to. I mean, he's here. He showed up. He was on time, and yeah. So big thank you to you, man. I appreciate you coming on. We'll definitely, if you check out any of our show notes, you're going to see special guests. We'll have his link and everything, so you can just click it, follow, and then see all the cool stuff he's talked about on the show today. But if you want to get a hold of any of us, you can go ahead and get a hold of Nick from MPG Creations on Instagram.
That's me.
Myself, North Country Woodworking. Josh on Instagram. Or you can reach both of us at Sawdust Nation Podcast on Instagram. And if you want to do what Kumo did, send us a voicemail or pictures of your current project or just, hey, how are you doing? Or random email for a question. Go ahead and send it at sawdustnationpodcast@gmail.com. And just a friendly reminder, if you're on Apple Podcast and you have a moment, go ahead and rate us 5 stars. We always kid around about my cat finding you, but after the last podcast, I don't know if I want to do that anymore. I don't want to put her out like that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, make sure you listen to the end of each podcast because there's always a special little message, mostly from Nick. Moving on, we have something coming up.
I do.
Next week, don't we?
Yeah.
We have some giveaways. We're going to be doing a YouTube Live at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to be giving away what, Nick?
Well, on the books right now, we have an Orca Abrasive sample pack, which is your choice of 5 or 6-inch discs of various grits from Orca Abrasives, thanks to Lawrence Tom from Orca Abrasives, and a prize to be determined. We're still working on that. Last but not least, I feel a contest coming up. We did a contest a while ago where people were sending us pictures of their wood, or at least their projects.
Woodworking.
Their woodworking, yes. They would send us.
I'll help you.
They would send us project pictures, and we judged them and we picked a winner. So we're going to go ahead and deliberate on what we want the specifics of this contest to be, but just be advised it's coming. So make sure you're doing your best work when you're throwing sawdust. Anyway, that's all I got there, Josh.
News to me.
Those are the best.
Anywho, yeah. Good idea, though. Moving on. What do we not talk about? I think that's it. I think we could do our outros. And, yeah. Yep. Nap, what do you got, man?
Take care of each other, folks. You never know who needs it out there. That's all I got.
All right. Well, take care of yourselves and each other. Till next time, you can pick your friends. You can pick your nose, but you can't pick your friend's nose. This is Nick from MPG Creations out.
As always, thank you for listening to the podcast. Make sure you turn it on in your shop, in your car, wherever you can listen to it. We appreciate you listening. Go make some sawdust, and Sawdust Nation out.
That's right. Could you imagine if my workbench had a set of... Holy cow, my wife would be even worse on my case about not coming in from the garage.
You're asleep out there.
That's right. Why are you in the garage all night long? Why not? Oh my gosh. Hey, so I got to tell you, I went to the doc today. He gave me 6 months to live. I told him I couldn't pay the bill, so he gave me 6 more months.
Yeah, no kidding, right?